Now, this question is actually posed by Chris, and he's not here, which is a shame because I wanted to hear his answer. What was on his mind when he came up with this question? But with people complaining about superhero fatigue, where from geek culture can the next big blockbuster come from? I don't really have superhero fatigue. I think, like Jack said, I have bad movie fatigue. I have bad script fatigue because
Same.
we're tired of Marvel, and then we saw Guardians of the Galaxy and was like, that's a freaking
Thank you.
banger.
I
We're
mean,
tired. We're like DC's been dropping the ball. Well, we were all loving Peacemaker, so I don't think it's superhero fatigue. Invincible, we can't wait for freaking season 2 to drop. The Boys, we can't wait. So I don't think we're tired of superheroes. More or less, it's the fast food of it. They're just trying to pump out so much stuff. You don't care what comes out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but where do you think the next big blockbuster will come from? From geek culture. Where do you think it's going to come from?
I don't even know.
I've got answers.
And
Oh,
Jack,
now you got
come on.
answers.
Oh, now we got
I
Let's see
got
what
answers.
you
answers
got.
for this one.
Look at
I mean, you
him.
can listen. Anytime you're at a deficit of material, just go back to 80s cartoons. You're gonna find a plethora of inspiration.
Yeah.
Thundercats, Voltron, all that stuff's stealable
There
stuff.
was a Gem in the Holograms live action movie a few
There
years
was.
ago.
That's what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
And there was a Josie and the Pussycats.
Yes,
what I'm
there
talking
was.
Or video games. God of War live action. Come on.
But that actually needs to happen.
That
Yes.
does. Yeah.
Now,
Get
the
Dave
one
Bautista.
hell yes.
Yo, come on.
Are you
man.
kidding me? Wow, Lawrence, great casting.
He may not want it though. He's like, I'm tired of
Yeah,
having to be in like all this
Big
shape.
muscle head,
But
I just want to.
it's a role for him though.
I want to sit back and eat Oreos. Like,
Who doesn't?
yeah.
Who freaking doesn't, Rich?
The one thing I'll be a broken record on though, it's the Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones was Game of Thrones was this guy right to my left here, Guts from Berserk. If HBO did a Berserk series and just followed the storyline of the manga, this thing would be the franchise of all
The
franchises.
track record of bringing anime to live action, although we've had some winners, it's not a
HBO
guaranteed
hasn't done it.
formula.
Yeah.
You're right.
And the
HBO hasn't
storyline
done
of
it.
Berserk is so good. It's like if HBO had done Berserk instead of House of the Dragons, they'd have a smash hit on their hands. Because you have something that's reminiscent to Game of Thrones, where it's set in this kind of, medieval-esque time period. It's real world, it's drama, it's politics. But then when it goes south, you're dealing with supernatural on a level.
When
you
it
just
goes
never
south, they can't afford to make that show anymore. That's an expensive show when it goes south.
That's why you need a real studio behind it. Like you need a real studio behind it. Listen, I don't know how Netflix is doing.
They're making everybody get their own. That's how.
I guess so.
Everybody
But doing One Piece is not a cheap show. Cowboy Bebop, there's no way that was.
Well,
a cheap
that's why Cowboy Bebop got canceled. Like it was too expensive.
It's a shame.
But the thing about HBO is it also appeals to. I'm sorry. The thing about Berserk is it also appeals to, this gritty visceralness that HBO capitalizes on, which a lot of other platforms don't capitalize on, and the content of that series has it in spades.
So you're saying the next option that they should capitalize on is just mining anime. Just mine anime.
Geez, I mean, Ritual can if they could figure out how to translate it well, some of the most interesting stories are in
Demon Slayer can work.
That's what I'm saying.
If it's on it, but HBO can't make all of them.
HBO can't make all of them. You're going to have to have some variety out there.
And I don't know if other places can make them work.
Right.
The thing that's hard about anime is it often goes into this cute thing, right? Like even when you're in a really gritty thing, there's often kiddish humor.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what's hard to translate. The humor of a thing is hard to translate. So you almost need to ground the content in a way where don't worry about that. The characters will bring out depth and humor and stuff like that as the story progresses.
I guess, but usually what makes that kiddish humor like really pop in anime is because they literally change their animation style,
Their
and like
face,
they throw
yes.
the heart shape up or something to that nature, and then like change their voice, like you know.
Yeah.
That's why, that's
It's
why
hard to do.
Berserk doesn't do that as much.
Right.
But anime as a whole would be hard to translate and keep the spirit of because of that. They allow themselves to go surreal,
Right.
and that's a tough one. So yes,
But
I agree. Berserk works, but as far Guts, you okay, Guts? Berserk works, but I can't say the next blockbuster will come from anime or blockbuster series of blockbusters because
man, it could if it
it's
it
challenging,
just it
man.
doesn't translate well often. But it's the content is there if they crack the code.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like My Hero Academia could work with a massive, ridiculously obnoxious budget
But look at how
because it's kids.
Yeah.
Avatar: The Last Airbender did so poorly.
M. Night Shyamalan too.
Uh,
He was doing his own.
Don't know what he was doing.
When you have anime that stars kids or teenagers, then they can give you the surreal kind of silly innocent thing because it's around kids, so they can emulate that energy, even if it's not like visually the same thing.
Mm.
But I don't know how you get that energy from adult geared anime, where like these adults don't do that. Adults don't just blush because it's also a cultural thing
Mm.
too. Like the way men and women and how they handle each other culturally is very different in Japan. So it's not going to translate when a woman walks in the room and says, "Hi, Jack," and all of a sudden you start blushing and sweating. That's not here. That's going to be like, "What's your problem?"
Or like
Right.
his nose starts bleeding, like, "Grr."
His nose starts
Yeah.
bleeding.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Unless we lean into it on some Scott Pilgrim. Unless we lean into it like
Scott Pilgrim really made it work.
But
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. You have to figure out how that content could be translated, right? Adapted. And
Okay.
something like Berserk, I think you ground the thing even more than it already is. And there's no way people aren't walking away from that on some Game of Thrones tip. And this thing makes Game of Thrones look like child's play.
Dude, I'm with you. We gotta work on anime. Rich, you're not wrong when it comes to freaking just jumping into the 80s, man. Jump into the 80s. My pick, I guess, would be still comics. But like what we saw with
Oh
Guardians
wait,
and
I didn't
Peace.
make my pick. No, that was
I thought you
Jack's
said,
pick.
oh, I thought you said 80s content. Oh, my bad.
I just threw out some stuff. I threw out the Josie and the Pussycats. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, you did.
I was gonna go with a comic myself, and specifically Spawn because I really want Spawn to work.
It could.
And I was
Apparently.
reading up on Spawn, and like I didn't realize his suit was like I knew his suit was alive, but it's actually a symbiote. I'm like, what?
Dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, may I hope he's doing well, but Jamie Foxx is cast to be in the next joint, whatever that is. Spawn is tough, man. Like Spawn, you almost gotta like almost be okay with not making money. Be okay with not selling toys. Like be okay with just letting this be this rated R, mature, explicit thing.
You can still sell toys.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
Not what the McDonald's have. You know what? You know how they
Man,
do.
I mean, okay, you're
You
not
know
going
how
big
they
like
do.
that. All right, I mean, I get that point, but you can still sell these action figures, no
Oh
problem.
yes, to adult collectors.
yeah.
Even kids. I remember my brother had some of the like my brother had the Violator, and was it Overkill?
But that last movie wasn't rated R.
That last movie was like, it would have to be like almost like hard R. Like let's go to town.
Let's go.
Let's go to town.
I'm all for the hard
I'm
R.
with you.
Because that's what Spawn was in the comics. Spawn
Yeah.
in the comics was like, what is this content? And who is McFarlane? What is this thing?
Yeah.
And it was cool because it was
Wrong.
so
So
dark and
like we shouldn't
raw.
like we just
Yeah.
No.
My
That could
first
be it.
my first interaction with Spawn was the movie, not the movie, excuse me, the animated one, the cartoon.
Right. The HBO joint.
Yeah, I
Which
was
is
like, yo,
weird.
what is this? I loved
But
it.
I guess I like would you say that would be a blockbuster though, or would that just be like this wonderful niche piece of culture that'll make all the money, but like no studio is gonna hang their coat on it. It's gonna kind of do its thing because you can't market it to children for real, for real.
But you
Yeah.
wouldn't need to. You treat it like Deadpool. You market it for what it should be marketed as.
But Deadpool, them making
Spawn,
it, them
Spawn
making it
wasn't
a,
made for kids.
but Deadpool being a comedy is what lets it cross the whole line.
That's true. Yeah.
They use comedy and Ryan Reynolds to make this thing like freaking like a Will Ferrell movie. Like you might as well be watching a rated R Anchorman when you watch Deadpool, and that's great. But that's how they're able to like cross over. To me, Spawn works where it's like we're not crossing over anywhere. Maybe the horror, but that's it.
Right.
Maybe you'll make a horror film. Maybe that's the answer.
I think Spawn is for as good as that IP is, it's kind of untapped right now. I totally agree that Spawn would be, if again, kind of like cracking the code of anime. Though you'd have to crack the code of how that adapts cinematically in a way where you can make a film where it's going to appeal to a large fan base. I'm sorry, a large market base other than just the fan base.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But what's tough about Spawn is horror films do well, but also they're cheap. That's the wonderful thing about a horror film. It's not extremely expensive. And then as far as a big blockbuster, only a handful do those numbers at rated R. Like usually like PG-13 is.
How did Brightburn do? Like Spawn could operate on some Brightburn tip where it's like you still got
Brightburn's
hero.
cheap though. When you think about like it's kind of like Smallville effects more, but Spawn is hell.
Do you remember when Spawn, the first Spawn movie? I remember watching news clips on the news where they just talked about his cape being like it was cutting edge, that his cape was all computer generated.
Yeah, and it would need to be now. Just would be better. Spawn will be dope. And I would love to see that genre. And they're doing a new Hellboy. Like, give us that horror superhero comic book content.
But Hellboy is more campy than Spawn. Spawn is
Even the comic too.
I don't remember reading the comic.
I mean, the first set of Hellboys, maybe not so much, but now he does have some camp in there.
Well, maybe. Well, they all. You have to find your niche, whether it's camp, whether it's horror, whether it's Deadpool, a comedy. That thing that gives you the bigger audience. But I'm with that. For me, I think with comics, I think just utilize characters that aren't extremely known. I mean, we're seeing it. Peacemaker, Guardians of the Galaxy, like you can do almost whatever you want with them.
But it wouldn't just be them. You would need the right director for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what character are you thinking?
I mean, give me a Booster Gold. Like, give me, give me these offshoot guys that seems like you don't know what to do with them. They seem like they shouldn't work. But
isn't Booster Gold getting a thing?
I don't remember.
I think
is he slated?
What's his name? I don't know if he said he wanted to do it or he's actually doing it.
For Donald Faison? That you talking about?
It was Donald Faison, but there was someone else.
He was supposed to do it, but
I never liked Booster Gold.
He's funny. He's stupid.
That's why I didn't like him.
I didn't like him. He was a goofball.
Or jump into like Boom Comics or Image Comics or some of the more indie comics where those characters
Yeah,
are freaking
actually,
dope.
and Boom is you know what, Lawrence? You're absolutely right.
Berserker. I mean, like, where's that at? Come on.
It's happening, but they went on strike.
There you go.
Berserker is happening, but they went on strike. But here's what I'll say, Lawrence. You're absolutely right. You're choosing the wrong material though. What you want a live action of is Something's Killing the Children. You want a live action of
Right.
Philadelphia. You
Right.
want a live action of East to West.
100 Bullets.
100 Bullets.
Yeah.
Like those are some great. Let's get some live actions of that going. They're great content, and what's great about that is the content is good.
I mean, it's literally what we saw AMC do. The Walking Dead. Image Comics is still kind of like an indie comic when you talk about compared to the big boys. It's like this black and white comic about
Well, Image
zombies.
is owned by DC now.
Are you sure?
I'd put money on that bet. Let me
How
check
much
it in
money?
real time, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
I'm going to check who owns Image Comics. Who owns Image Comics?
Who owns Image Comics?
Who
Sean William Scott wanted to play Booster Gold. That's what
That's
I heard.
actually perfect casting. I don't know now. That's recent. Didn't he just say that? I felt like I heard that recently.
Yeah, I saw it like a couple of days ago, and I'm reading this one May 20th. They published this.
He'd be perfect. I don't know if he's too old now, unfortunately, but he would be perfect. Jack, I don't think so.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Is Image Comics owned by DC? It's a creator-owned company, which means that all the writers and artists retain their media rights. A DC owns Dark Horse. Maybe that's what you're thinking about.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That might be what you're thinking about. So like Image is still kind of like this indie company sort of. So look at what The Walking Dead did. This indie comic, this black and white niche comic about zombies, not even about superheroes, changed the whole freaking world.
Yeah.
So that's where I would say the next blockbuster would come from, these kind of indie offshoots that you don't have to worry about spending $500 million because it's a Superman movie. You know, just drop $100 million and make freaking, like you said, something that's killing the children. Boom.
Just drop $100 million.
Hey, I got it.
I got it.
I got it.
Can I get a piece of that?
Come on, baby. Three Brothers and Shot of Milk start making movies out here.
Honestly, that is a great idea. And you should also, while you're making original content based off of great comic book IP, should go make Jim Kruger's Foot Soldiers, because that's another bit of great IP.
Mm-hmm. Jim Kruger's Foot Soldiers, and while you're making it, you might as well cast us.
Ayo!
3 birds, 1 stone. But honestly, I don't think there's superhero fatigue. I think that we just got tired of
bad script fatigue.
Yeah, or I would say we got tired of the promises not being kept. Right? The MCU has never been about who the bad guy is. The MCU has always been about the Avengers. Watching these groups of people eventually
That's
team
not
up.
entirely true. I mean,
Thanos did not drive phase 1 or 2. No one went to the movies because you're waiting to see Thanos. At all. Like, we didn't even care who Thanos was until like Infinity War almost. Or maybe one with Guardians when we saw him. They fought Ultron in Avengers 2. How did he catch? He didn't matter. We only cared about seeing the team ups. We care about the heroes, not the villains. This is not DC has better villains. Marvel is we don't come to the dance for your villains. We come to see team ups. You showed us Iron Man, you showed us Captain America, you showed us Thor, you showed us the characters who we're following. We don't know who we're following now. That's the problem. Who are the characters we're following? Like,
it's a mess out there.
It was clear Iron Man is the linchpin. He is the leader of these films, and we're watching to see him team up with other people, and then we enjoy those other people. We don't have an Iron Man right now. We don't have like a center hero that is driving it. So now when we're watching it, we feel aimless unless you have a standalone like Wakanda Forever or like Guardians 3, where we can just enjoy it as a standalone. But we don't have, they promised us, 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 they promised us Nick Fury says at the end of Iron Man 1, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. It was always about the Avengers. It's not about the Avengers anymore. So we don't know what we're watching. DC promised us a connected universe, forcing it. Forcing it to the point where, like, we don't even care anymore. Is Shazam connected? Yeah, I don't know. But Black Adam's his villain. Yeah, he wants to fight Superman. Why? I don't know. It just became just like a bunch of like, I don't know. Who cares?
It's the decision making skill that I have fatigue of, right? It's like there's actually great content out there, and there's good stories out there, and when the content is story driven and character driven, where we empathize and care about the choices that these people are forced to make, then the content's always going to feel satisfying. That's why the Guardians 3 was satisfying. It was a satisfying meal.
Right.
But it's why something like Ant-Man was less satiating. It's like,
Yeah.
And
okay.
I'm with you, but they deviated from their formula. They made like it's about Kang. You guys never built it around a villain. You built it around the team. I'm excited to fight the villain. That's why we love Guardians 3, because we love this team. Who's the bad guy? Could have been anybody.
Yeah.
I love this team.
But the problem is the content isn't paying homage to itself. It's just doing stuff. And not
Right.
to the extent of like Fast and the Furious, but Fast and the Furious is that under a microscope where you're like a magnifying glass. It's like, wow, this is we're only a few steps away from all the films kind of feeling like that. You're just blowing stuff up for the sake of blowing stuff
Right.
up, but I don't care about the characters anymore.
But I'll say Fast and Furious, at least Fast 9. I haven't seen Fast 10, although has its problems that you guys talked about in depth. It still knows what it is. It's about this group of people.
No, it's lost what it is.
But it's about this group of people who work as a team. Like Marvel Phase 4 and 5 don't even have that. Who's your team? We're building up to the Avengers against Kang. Who are the Avengers in this movie?
Fast and Furious series definitely had the team. Fast 10, maybe not so much, but yeah, man.
MCU's always been about the Avengers.
It has. It really has. Like you really didn't care about the villain. Like everyone fought their villain, obviously, but you just saw everyone kind of get their like little bit of an origin story to them, like introduction, and then they eventually start coming together, and then you got your Avengers. Yeah.
Part 1, they fought Loki. Part 2, Ultron. Infinity War, Thanos, Endgame, like the villain plays a part. The villain is just there to make the team have to work harder as a team and break them up. But like,
now we don't have, like, we're lost. We're lost in the soul. We don't know what's going on with Marvel now.
And these characters, they're not spending time that they spent with Robert Downey to make us fall in love with them.
Yeah.
I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange should be the obvious choice to lead the rest. I mean, he's a great actor, great character, but it's just not.
What did they do with that movie?
Oh, I don't even know why I brought that up, Rich. Why did I bring up Doctor Strange?
What was this question again?
I don't even know. Chris isn't even here. I think we're just feeling.
All right. I think we answered all the questions, though, right? You said
we did, yeah.
Yeah, we
said
answered.
comics. I said Spawn. You said I'm about to say Bleach. Excuse me. Well, yeah, we said it all.
You said it all, man. So let us know what you guys think in the comment section on YouTube. Let us know what you think would be the next blockbuster in geekdom, if there needs to be one. But anyways, well, that's our show. That's what we got for you. I don't know if it feels anticlimactic or not, but that's all we got, Jet.
That's it. That's all we have.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the podcast link below. Listen to us talk about this stuff for like an hour and a half. We go hard. Y'all really got to listen to the last episode because on the podcast, because these guys, for as much as they didn't like Fast 10, they had a lot to say.
I was telling you, every time Chris and Rich talked about the logistical mechanics of a car, I was like,
Chris is like, why is the flame blue? I'm like, why can a car break Dom Toretto's fall? Y'all looking too deep into it.
Yeah.
man. But anyways,
I would like to see Marissa Tomei from My Cousin Vinny talk about the mechanics of cars.
that would be hilarious. Why has that not been like a freaking? I don't know if
Like
Funny or Die is a thing
cause
anymore.
attraction of it.
That'd be great if she reprised that role and did that.
Just to talk about it.
On
Just
TikTok.
talk about the movie.
That would go viral. That would go freaking viral. Anyways, we'll be back. Same bad time.
Same bad channel.
Peace.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. We're talking